Alright, so I'm going to do a couple examples from section 8.3, 1 through 20, and then 27 through 29. So I'll do a few here. The first one's asking you to do the tangent ratio of angle A and angle B. So keep in mind, the word ratio just means fraction. So you're trying to find the relationship. And keep in mind, tangent is opposite over adjacent. So anytime that you're using trig functions, I'd highly recommend always writing SOHCAHTOA at the top. So you know sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. SOHCAHTOA. So in this case, it says tangent ratio, so we're going to use the tangent. And they're giving you two reference angles, A and B. So we're going to do the tan of angle A. So here's our reference angle, and I'm just going to draw theta in there. You can draw x or whatever you want. So we know opposite is there. This is hypotenuse. Adjacent is here. So tan of A is opposite, which is 1, over adjacent, which is 2. Now we want to find the tan of B. So we have a different reference angle. It's no longer going to be angle A. So my opposite is going to be different, and my adjacent will be different. My hypotenuse is still my hypotenuse. That doesn't change, but the reference angle does. So this is my reference angle. Opposite is here, adjacent is here, and hypotenuse is still the same. So tangent of B is opposite over adjacent, so 2 over 1. For ratios, this is all it's asking is finding that relationship and writing it as a fraction. For number 4 and 5, it's asking you to round to the nearest tenth when you're solving for x. I'll do number 4, and I'll do it 2 different ways so you can see how to do it in your calculator. So we're going to be using, well, we have to figure out what we're using. Our reference angle is 43, so this is opposite, this is hypotenuse, so it's opposite of your 90, and then whatever is left, that is your adjacent. So remember, adjacent means right next to. So we have opposite, we have adjacent, so we're going to use tangent. I can't use sine or cosine because those you need hypotenuse, and I don't have those. So we're going to do tangent of my angle, which is 43, equals opposite over adjacent. So opposite x over adjacent, which is 12. And then from here, you're solving for x. So x is getting divided by 12, so you can do the opposite and multiply by 12. So you have 12 times tan of 43. But I do want to show you another way you can do it. Is you have tan of 43 equals x over 12. Put tan of 43 over 1, because tan of 43 over 1 is still tan of 43. And then you can cross multiply because you have a fraction equals a fraction. So we have x times 1, so x equals 12 times tan of 43. So when you put this in your calculator, make sure that you're not putting in, so this is, no, don't do this. Don't do tan of 43 times 12, because then you're taking the tan of this angle, which you don't want to do. So I would overemphasize the parentheses, so 12 times parentheses tan of 43, or even tan of 43 enter times 12. But when you do that, you're going to get 11.19018.103. It does say round to the nearest tenth, so that's 11.2. So that just means that length opposite of 43 is going to be 11.2. About finding the distance from the boathouse to the cabin. So they give you the word problem. But what was nice about this one, they give you a picture as well. So keep in mind, you'll be at a point where I will give you the word problem and you'll have to draw a picture from what is given. So to find the distance from the boathouse on the shore to the cabin, Surveyor measures from the boathouse to point X as shown. Then he finds measure angle X with an instrument called a transit, using the surveyor's measurements to find the distance from the boathouse to the cabin. So the distance from the boathouse to the cabin, we're going to put X because that's what we're trying to find. I'm going to redraw the triangle so it's easier for me to see the measurements. So 59 degrees, this is 30 yards, and this is X yards. So we need to figure out if we're going to use sine, cosine, or tangent. So my reference angle is 59. So opposite of that is here. It's a different color. Hypotenuse is opposite my 90. Adjacent is right next to. So I have O and A, so I'm going to use tangent. So tan of 59 equals opposite over adjacent. So again, you can multiply by 30 on both sides. I'm going to put it over 1 and cross multiply. So X is going to equal 30 times tangent of 59. So again, overemphasize those parentheses. You don't want to make sure you're not doing 30 times 59 and then finding the tangent of that. So it's 30 times the tan of 59. And you're going to get 49.92838. It does not say what to round it to, nearest tenth, hundredth, it doesn't say. So rule of thumb in SOHCAHTOA world, always do to the nearest hundredth, which is those 2 decimal places. So X is going to equal 49.93. I'm going to raise it up because of that 8. And we have yards. So when in doubt, do the nearest hundredth when you go to round if it doesn't indicate for you. We're asking you to find the value of X to the nearest degree. So they're telling us to the nearest whole degree. So we need to figure out if we're going to use sine, cosine, or tangent. I mean, it is section 8.3, which is called tangent. So probably going to use tangent, but it's always good to check. So my reference angle is X. I have opposite. Hypotenuse is opposite of my 90 and adjacent. So I have tan of X equals opposite over adjacent. Now the issue we have here is, it's not really an issue, but we're trying to figure out our degree. So we're not going to use the tangent button for that. We're going to use the inverse tangent button. So inverse tan of 7 over 11, that's going to give us our degree. So keep in mind, anytime you're finding degree, we're going to use the inverse function. So to find that, depending on what calculator you have, you can either do second, then your tangent button. If you have a trig button, and some scientific calculators, keep going until you see tan to the -1, which we call the inverse tan. So we do the inverse tan of 7 divided by 11. You're going to get 32.47119. It says to the nearest degree, so this would be 32 degrees. I'm not going to raise it up because it's a 4. If it was a 5 or higher, I would, but right now I'm good. 32 degrees for number 11. All right, for 15, you're going to have to find the X. So even though this is under the tangent chapter or section, you can still use sine and cosine. But to show you how to use tangent, the issue is this is your opposite, this is your adjacent, this is your hypotenuse. So if you want to use tan, you'd have to figure out the opposite side by doing SOHCAHTOA. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So 3 squared plus, I don't know what that is, b squared equals 3 times the square root of 5 squared. So you could solve for that other side using Pythagorean theorem. So what's that? That's going to be 9 times 5, because 3 squared is 9, square root of 5 squared is 5. So we'll have 9 plus b squared equals 45. and then you can solve for v and place it there. I taught you SOHCAHTOA all in one, so you have the ability to use sine or cosine. So you have adjacent and hypotenuse. So you're going to use SOHCAHTOA. So adjacent and hypotenuse is going to be cosine. So you can do cosine of your angle equals 3 over 3 square roots of 5. You could multiply by the square root of 5 over the square root of 5 to get rid of that other denominator, but you're trying to find that degree, so you're going to use that inverse cosine of 3 over 3 divided by 3 over 3 times the square root of 5. So you can multiply the square root of 5 over square root of 5. I'm just going to leave it as is because I'm still going to get my answer. So I'm going to do second cosine for me because I'm using a graphing calculator. So the inverse cosine of 3 divided by 3 square roots of 5. Now, you can't see my calculator, but I put this in parentheses. Like I said, you can't have too many parentheses. Just want to make sure your calculator is doing what it's asking to. So because you can't see my calculator, I'll write out what I put in here. So I did 3 divided by parentheses, 3 square roots of 5, parentheses, parentheses. And that came out to 63.43494. To the nearest degree is what the directions say. So it's going to be 63 degrees for number 15. X equals 63 degrees. For 17 and 18, nothing new. You're just trying to figure out this gray box. So I'm just going to put X there. So you're trying to find a degree here. So do the inverse tan of 3.5. I mean, we're used to having a fraction there. All they did was take the fraction and reduce it down to a decimal. So the inverse tan of 3.5 to the nearest tenth it's asking me to. So 74.1 degrees would be answer for 17. For 18, x over 20 equals tan of 34 degrees. Again, I'm going to put this over 1. Cross multiply to get x equals 20 times the tan of 34. So in my calculator, I'm going to do tan of 34, enter times 20, and that's going to give me 13.4901. It says round to the nearest tenth. I'm going to do 13.5.